everybody, and welcome to a brand new week, a fresh start. So what I thought we would talk about this week, a lot of people, and I know this, from working here, and even my perception sometimes, I forget, because you look out the window, and it's autumn, it's fall, all the leaves are down, all the perennials are, they're right over, and you look out into your yard and all you see is just labor, raking leaves, cutting back perennials, putting away the hose, all of that stuff. And it can be a little deflating, and when we get to, around this time of year, and our summer annuals, they're past their best. Most of my annuals are done now. They're getting leggy, they're not blooming properly, and we kind of feel deflated. We know winter's coming, the yard's covered in leaves, and we're just kind of like, eh. But there are a ton of annuals. There's so much you can do, so much more than raking your yard and putting stuff away. There's still so much you can do. So I thought what we would do is we would discuss, we'd go over what an annual is again, we'd refresh that, and then this week we'd talk a little bit about annuals. And like I said, stay tuned for this Friday, we're going to give away a plant. I don't know how Brandy's doing it, I just make these bold claims and then I walk away, and poor Brandy has to struggle to keep up. As you can see, we're not really scripted. I do jot notes down to stay on track, but I don't have a script. And I just randomly say things like that, and Brandy's like, oh, that's awesome, Colin, thank you. So anyway, I digress. So an annual, if you remember, we touched on this back in the spring, back in GAKids Season 1. And an annual is a one and done. It's a plant that goes through its entire life in one season. And essentially, the entire life of a plant, it's pretty easy. Hey, Mr. Spider Plant, you're in my way. The entire lifespan of a plant is growth. So when we plant it, it starts growing, whether that be from seedling, whether you buy it from us, or you buy a pack of seeds and do it yourself, whatever that might be. So it's growth, then it's bloom, and then finally seed. So that is the lifespan essentially of most plants, let's say, especially annuals. You put them in, they grow. So those leaves, the foliage is undergoing massive photosynthesis, right? We put them in the spring, days are getting longer, it's nice and warm, the sunlight is hitting that green, the chlorophyll, we've already touched on that, is feeding the plant and giving it a ton of energy. It gets all of that energy and explodes it out into blooms. Those blooms are out there and they're the big advert. Do you remember when we spoke about flowers? The purpose of a flower, and I know I'm surrounded, let me just grab one. What a great flower, okay? The purpose of this, now we plant this because we find it beautiful. We look at this and we go, oh my God, that's going to stand out in my yard, I love it, it makes me happy. But the plant is doing it because it's going to attract a pollinator. And that's what it needs to create seeds. So this is just the big advert. If you remember, in the spring we equated it to like the neon sign, the golden arches. It gets your attention. The smaller the flower, we don't find it that particularly nice to put in our garden, and a pollinator might miss it. This, they're not going to miss. So this plant is really increasing its chances for success. So the plant goes out and it puts out the flower, and it's taking all of the energy, and this is still going on, mind you, this process is still happening, and it goes to bloom. Now putting out a big flower like that, as you can imagine, takes a lot of energy, That's where our healthy soil comes in, our fertilizers, lots of light. It's going to bloom. Well, now the pollinators come in. Your bees, your butterflies, your birds, the wind, all of those great things, and it takes it to seed. And that's when the flower dies. Now remember, we have ways, we deadhead, we do all kinds of things to keep it in the bloom cycle for as long as we can. But naturally, this is the cycle. It grows, it blooms, it puts out seeds, it dies. Essentially, it's propagated its species. It's created 10,000 seeds. If, a small percentage of them succeed, boom, the job is done. So that is the lifespan. So in a nutshell, that is what an annual does. And the reason we put them in our gardens, there's a number of reasons, is one, the continuity of color. Even if you've got an absolutely splendid and massive perennial garden with trees and all kinds of good stuff, there's always going to be a period where things aren't in bloom. So you can have your early blooming perennials, your summer perennials, and your autumn perennials. But in between that, when your spring ones are dying back and your summer ones are coming up, there can be that little lull. Maybe it's a week, maybe it's 2 weeks, depending on the choices you've made, where you don't have the color in your garden. So the annuals are going to give you that continuity. And we all know, as we've mentioned, we are in the fall, we are in autumn, we know winter's coming. So this is going to give you maximum color during your season. And that ties into the fall. One thing I find is we love our spring and summer. Love it, love it, love it. But then the moment autumn hits, the amount of people who are like, oh, it's winter, they kind of give up. It's not. Let's celebrate autumn. Let's celebrate all of the seasons. Let's push it for as long as we can. I know I want color. Last week I brought my mom a mum. I took her a chrysanthemum. She loved it. She was so happy. She was like, oh my God, you're awesome. You're the best son ever. And I was like, I know. No, she didn't. I'm projecting.
It's okay, Colin. It's a safe place.
My mom loved the mums, and people do. That's why we have them. But so many people don't realize, oh, I can extend my season. I can put more color in my garden and keep it going. So that's a purpose. Another great purpose for an annual, as well as our continuity, is our friends. Okay? Yeah, I think you all know what I'm drawing here. Okay? The pollinators. And they've been busy all summer. All summer these guys have been going. And they've been feeding off your summer perennials and your summer annuals. And don't forget, when we're talking annuals, we're not just talking flowers. I've mentioned flowers and I drew flowers, but I should have also mentioned tomatoes, cucumbers, broccoli, strawberries, all of those, herbs, basil, borage, mint, all of those are annuals. So these guys are awesome pollinator friends. I should have done both the antennae on the same way. It kind of looks like a goat. It's a goat bee. Our pollinator friends, they've had a plethora to feed on in the summer. Fruit trees, perennials, annuals. Well, now the fall comes, you look around, there's not much in bloom naturally. All the wildflowers are dying back because there isn't that much rain, it's adverse conditions, the light's leaving us. There are some fall perennials, it's not a ton of them. And these guys, like any animal that hibernates, they're hungry. They want to replenish their supplies and they need something. So putting out flowers, hanging baskets, that kind of thing is amazing. The hummingbirds are getting ready to migrate again. They've been here all summer, and putting something like a calla lily in, just something like this, put it in a pot. It's going to give you color, it's going to give you depth, it's probably going to make you happy. and the hummingbirds will hit this up. The bees, all of the pollinators that need that extra little oomph to get through, this is what they're going to be looking for. And the great thing about pollinators, if they find a food source, they tend to come back. So if you've had a great garden all summer, you prolong that life with some fall annuals, and you lift it up, well then they are going to come back and they're going to get in there. The other thing, you can add some fragrances. You can keep things going. So putting the annuals in, it adds so much benefit to us. We know winter's coming. A lot of people, they get bummed out in the winter. They get bummed out at this time of year. Right? This color, this greenery can actually help with that. It's good to plant. It's good to get outside. There's a ton of stuff to do. You've got the fragrance, the pollinators, the color, and fertilize. Remember, fertilize your annuals. Push them till the end. Lots and lots of water. You don't need to amend your soil again. If you've got a pot full of summer annuals, pull them all out and put your new ones in. That easy. You don't need new soil. So you're not spending money on soil. The fertilizer that you've used all summer, keep fertilizing. Push them right until they are done. They are dead. Keep those flowers going. So that essentially is why we have the annuals in all year. And you know, it sounds really, really simple. Growth bloom seed, it's done. But you can prolong it. Don't forget to deadhead them. Okay, even your fall ones, a lot of people go, oh, what's the point? I've been here in Calgary. Yeah, you know what? We've had some really short seasons. When we were discussing trees, we discussed snowmageddon. But we've also had some really long seasons. Gone right through to November with beautiful, beautiful weather, and you're looking at a stark, empty garden. Some deadheading, some fertilizing, and you could have had that. If the weather stays warmer, if you've got something like a veggie pod or your frost blankets, you might be able to keep some of those foods I was talking about still producing. You might be able to push your tomatoes a little bit more. If you've got a greenhouse, you got something like that. So fertilizer, water, and keep it going, and your annuals are going to keep going for you. So tomorrow, I think what we're going to do is we'll discuss some examples, and we'll show some examples of some great autumn annuals, and kind of what you can do with them, and the idea behind them, and pollinators, and planters, and hanging baskets. Then we're going to discuss planting annuals in the fall, and then I think we're going to wrap up the week by building a planter. That's always fun. I don't believe, other than planting the tree, I've really got my hands dirty this season, so it's about time to do that. So that wraps it up. I hope you noticed we are staying on brand, we are staying on trend. Boring Shirt Monday. Again, I accidentally matched it to my pants. I got no words. I got no words. My shoes stand out.
This is what happens when you're allowed to dress yourself.
I've been allowed to dress myself for like 2 months now. So I think I'm doing pretty good. Pants first, then shoes. There you go. But yeah, we are staying on point. I promise my shirt will be better tomorrow. Couldn't be worse. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Enjoy your autumn. Don't give up yet. Let's enjoy all of our seasons. They're all important. And there's so much you can do in a garden. Have a great day, everybody. Bye now.